Hello, and welcome back to Stories of Our Lives. We'll be discussing the laws in Oregon and
We're going to be discussing AI and some immigration ideas, thoughts, maybe how we can turn this country around as far as politics and the invasion that's happened in our country.
we've been doing some research and she's listened to some people on YouTube and other places, and we were discussing it, and we didn't like it. There's some things that were said that just made us really upset. There was a guy talking about how parents are the problem and trying to talk about how there needs to be classes set up on parenting.
Well, that's after we establish the America that we all want. And actually the other countries, when they all come together and supposedly our finances will be fixed, we'll be having more of a different mindset. Things will be different, apparently. We'll see. But when those changes are made, it's going to be having parents more involved in their children's lives versus the school system versus however other people are having to choose to raise their kids through TV, whatever. We didn't allow our kids to watch a lot of TV. We played video games more than anything
We stayed
else.
outside. That's what we did.
And also, we didn't let our kids have phones early.
Not until we could either afford it or we were old enough to have one.
So that was our rules. And I think that saved our children from being indoctrinated in any way besides being homeschooled. So, again,
homeschool, we just learned about how life works.
yeah. So I was a little offended by this guy because I'm like, okay, wait a second. There are parents out there that actually did do the right thing and raise their kids correctly.
Yeah, he did an overgeneralized statement of all parents are the problem.
Yeah.
And I know of parents that got involved by trying to get their kids out of school.
Going up against the school boards. Yeah. And they were considered domestic terrorists under Biden.
For questioning the school's judgment.
Give me a break. So yes, let me also say that, Germany was one country I remember yanking their children out of people's homes that were homeschooling. They were against the homeschooling movement. Why? Oh, because they didn't have control over your children. That's the whole point. And so I got angry because I'm like, okay, maybe other countries don't have a big homeschooling movement. The United States of America had a huge homeschooling movement, followed by COVID, because people were saying, wow, my kids are back to normal since they've been home with me. Why do you think that's the case?
Children are supposed to take after their parents. They're supposed to take bits from their mother, bits from their father, and work with the better aspects of both parents. Some kids, though, they'll take the negative attributes and they'll work with those because that's how their personality type works or whatever. It's interesting to see results from homeschools, okay, versus public schools. So homeschool systems, they learn from their parents the way it was intended. And the outcome isn't that they're stupid or not as smart as homeschoolers. It comes down to they have better people skills. They're better at communication. They're better at being analytical thinkers if they have those kind of parents.
Well, and for us, it was not just the academic lessons, but the life lessons so that our kids would be prepared to serve in their, as an adult in this world. It wasn't because I was completely academics. I knew nothing about the world. My husband had to educate me about life skills. And so I think there's a loss there in the school system too, because not only they're not even teaching the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic anymore. They're just trying to indoctrinate our kids. They're trying to groom them. They're trying to do a bunch of things that are just completely wrong.
Yep.
And I remember my mother-in-law telling me that her children going to a Christian school, they were starting to believe their teacher over her. So her authority was even being challenged back then. So those are another lesson that we need to learn as parents. And I took that to heart when I was educating my children, is we are the if, ands, or buts of how our children are raised and how they will behave. It has nothing to do with anything else. And that is our job. We are to raise our kids to be independent adults in this world. That's our job.
Yep.
They're not supposed to like us. We're not supposed to be friends with them. We are the educators.
They're the authority.
And yeah,
that was given to them by God. So for us, it was a huge shock being in high school, or no, it was still junior high at the time, and hearing that kids are being told to call their parents by their first name by the school system. That was the first indicator to us actually seeing this happen, going, that's wrong. You call your mom and dad by mom and dad out of respect for them. You don't call them by their first name. So to learn about that and watch it actually unfold was just awful. And the parents allowed it for some stupid reason.
Because you're giving your authority over to a school system rather than taking the authority as the parent.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a problem. And I had a problem with it even when I was a child growing up as a student. My mother-in-law would go and have knockout, drag out fights with these teachers.
Yep.
Because, no, you're not going to treat my son that way. No, my son was not going to do that assignment. No, my son will not be participating. She was fighting this in the 80s and 90s. And so we have that background of this is the way it's going to be. Plus, my husband and I, big advocates for focus on the family. Dr. James Dobson told us way beyond his years, this is what they're going to do to your school system. This is what you're going to have to do to prepare. And so that's what got us to really consider homeschooling. Plus, we were anti-vax. We were anti-establishment. We also had the last name Hull. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep our kids at home because they're not going to get beaten up every day at school because of their last name.
Well, that was my mom's fear. My father, it was laws changed. And so he couldn't feel comfortable teaching his sons how to fight the way that he learned, because he didn't know how schools and the police would handle these things nowadays, or at the time.
So he wanted to protect his kids from going to jail because they're like, they'll put you in jail for anything.
When he was in his teen years, it was mutual combat. That was the thing that was, implemented back then, and the cops understood that. The cops were very nice and polite to my father. They all knew him because he was involved in things where he could meet officers and know them, because that's what they did back then. They were public servants, and you could ride for them even sometimes if you had a long ways to walk.
Well, plus where he's from, there's only like 3 police officers, so he knew him by first name. They knew him. It's changed so much since then, and they're for the criminals now, especially in our state. And I'm going to have you go ahead and talk about the state and what we've been through, because he found out that our state has actually been corrupt for much longer than we thought.
So I Googled Oregon laws, or the history of Oregon laws, and I found it interesting because what my computer pulls up is different than what my phone pulls up. So that's interesting. My computer pulled up that in 1844 is when we would not allow any blacks over here. They could not be residents in Oregon. And it wasn't until 1857 that they could be residents, but they couldn't own property. And then in 1987 is when our state became a sanctuary state. And the law prohibited officers to arrest or deport anyone without papers. So we've been a sanctuary state for a very long time, longer than we thought. And you take that in consideration, plus the free borders, the open borders. We don't know how bad Oregon's gotten, but it has to end. If there's more states like us, it would make sense why we have so many Democrat voters.
And why also we have the illegals here for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, there's only one way that happens, and that's laws like what we had.
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that this is nothing new.
Nope.
And this is why our state in particular has been Democrat forever. I don't even know when we've had a Republican governor.
I was devastated to find out that we were never on the right side. I mean, we punished not just the slaves here, but also when they became free, we kicked them all out. So I don't like that that's the way our state handled it. I also don't like that we became a sanctuary state, trying to, undo what the previous laws did. It was always one extreme or the other. It was always one extreme. They couldn't be moderate. They couldn't be understanding. They couldn't be negotiated with. This is why I think Oregon needs a desperate change, because I don't like the fact that we were never on the right side of history. I don't like the fact that we were never right at all. So if you look at the governors we've had, even when I was growing up, I mean, we didn't have any good governors.
They've all been corrupt.
Our laws allowed them to raise rent whenever they felt like it. So rent used to be $600 back when I was a kid, and now it's like $2,000 for a studio apartment. So
no one can live. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to bankrupt the country and bankrupt us, because we're the ones funding all these illegals who get to do nothing but steal, kill, whatever they want to do. And it's on our tax money, our dollar, that we fight hard to keep.
Yeah.
And so I think in some ways, and this is a big if AI is going to come in and supposedly govern, I don't know. I hear people talking about it. My husband did a search with Grok about what if, like, say, the Supreme Court were all AI. And Grok loved the idea. He said, I'd even volunteer to be one of those people. If we think about it, our caseloads would go like this, because they can just go through all of it. And you can put the Constitution in there, the Declaration of Independence in there, our Bill of Rights. You can just totally feed it our laws and hold people accountable. The problem I have is you can also feed it bad things.
Yep.
Or it can lead to bad things.
Yep.
But my thought is, you can't corrupt it. You can't bribe it. You can't do all the things that normal American people could be susceptible to.
The worst you could do is hack it.
Well, even then that's bad. But what I'm saying is the corruption could eventually just disperse. I understand the scariness of it. I understand, no, I don't want to be policed. I don't want the digital ID. I don't want to be tracked. But at the same time, we have to end this ability to turn the system into what we've already turned it into. This is the third time now the fiat system has come in, and it's been here for over 100 years and messed with U.S. citizens. And, my husband did have a good point too, and I have to remember, the Constitution says we the people.
Yep.
It doesn't say we the citizens of the United States of America. Well, maybe we should fix that. Okay. We the people should only include U.S. citizens. We the people are citizens of the United States that should only be allowed to be in government. No one else. I'm talking about naturalized citizens, people that are born here, of legal parents that were born here. You're the only ones that should be allowed to run for office. You're the only ones that should be allowed any, if any. I think our benefits should be taken away from us for SNAP benefits. Take it all away. You come here legally. You don't have the right to be in our political system. You don't have the right to any of our benefits that we have as citizens of the United States of America. So no
Correct.
Social Security. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about medical, but at the same time, we will offer some things, but some things should just be available to just the U.S. citizens of the United States of America. I don't believe other people have the right to that. I think that's where a lot of this went and, exploded, because they were just being offered all this stuff.
They gave the American dream to people that don't
deserve it,
live here. They weren't of.
And they hate our country. So
right.
Why are we giving them the benefits of being here when you hate our country? Death to America.
That's kind of the issue.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
They didn't allow us to continue living the American dream. So
they stole it from us. They stole the American dream from us. And then they don't even appreciate it. They feel entitled. It's like, get out. Just get out and let us have our country back. Let every country have their country back. Somalia, you can take your people back. I don't know where all you Islam people are going to go. We don't care. I found out too, Islam's not a religion, it's a movement. It's not legit. They want to tie Muslims to the extremists that they are, and the Muslim community is not like this. They say only the radicals are the ones that are going into the mosques. It's not all the Muslims. And I say burn down every mosque.
Which we were told long ago that you have peaceful Muslims and you got radicals. So we knew that there would be radicals in that group.
But radical Islam does not exist.
No.
It's just Islam. And Islam is the problem. Islam is as my husband likes to point out, they're cockroaches that just slowly move their way into countries and then try to take it over. We should not be allowing anyone into our country that wants to take it over.
And they've done that. If you look at the Middle East, how many Muslim dominated religions are in those countries? It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. So
it's a problem, and they're killing Christians over in Nigeria. I mean, that's
go back to your own countries. Go back to the places that want you guys there.
Yeah.
This is America. It has different principles, different values, and it doesn't align with yours, obviously. So.
And if you're going to come here, you're going to come here and appreciate our country.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are going to come here, you're going to give up the citizenship of your country and become a U.S. citizen where your loyalty lies with this country and not with wherever you were born from. It's got to be that way. We would not be allowed to go into any other country as an illegal and not face those consequences.
It's like us going to Japan and trying to tell them that, no, our way is better.
Right.
Our cars are better. The way we think is better. You can't do that.
And then take over their politics. I can't even imagine doing that. I'm so angry and I'm so frustrated because this happened, underneath our noses. They thought they were sly. They thought they had us. And this is the time we have to rise up. If in fact the United States of America goes back to we the people need to be ready. We the people need to be accepting of our country and taking it back and owning it and saying no more. Nobody else is going to own us, control us, and enslave us ever again. We have to take this time to remember who we are, remember what one nation under God means, and take this seriously. We're going to lose our country. And I'm really fed up with a lot of people just sitting back because Trump's in there. Trump is not done. And we could lose the midterms and lose everything that Trump has tried to stand for and fight for if we're not careful. And I really wish I could pinpoint whether Trump will, in fact, put some type of handle on the AI situation, not just let it run amok. That's my fear. Because if it can track the illegals, it can track all of us. And it can be used against us. And I'm really leery of that. Yes. But I also understand that there could be some good out of it. If we didn't have to worry about people that can be swayed or bribed or controlled, I say give AI all of our court cases, give them all of our stuff to go through and run them through the gamut. How many court cases do we have stockpiled?
I get it.
I think it even worked with Doge because I know they used AI for Doge, and I know that they wouldn't have come up with all those numbers as fast as they did without AI.
Right.
So it can be used for good. So I'm not completely fear-mongering it, but yes, I am cautiously watching what's going to happen with it.
Basically, AI is a tool, okay, and how you use it will determine the outcome. So the same could be said for weapons, for nukes, for any kind of development for the government, for example. It all comes down to risk. What it could do versus what it's designed to do.
True.
So what you're dealing with is the what if factor, which again, you have to take into consideration. Everything that we developed over here had a risk to it.
Sure.
It came down to how someone chose to use that. Would the risk be something to be concerned about, or would there be no risk because of whose hands it was in?
I trust Elon Musk with Grok. I don't trust Sam Altman, and I don't trust Peter Thiel. Those two scare me. I know how Trump likes to keep his enemies close, and I'm praying to God that that's the case, and that he's not going to just let them run wild with this stuff. Because Peter Thiel and his Antichrist seminar scares me. I don't know what he's thinking. I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But that type of rhetoric really scares me. I'm not really sure where that's going. And so my husband trusts Grok. I don't listen, or I don't engage AI. I just, it's too scary for me to want to engage. I just read you what my husband plays around with, and that's all all he does. And, right now being, at home, it's entertaining to him just to play around with Grok and test his knowledge and everything, and playing around with conspiracy theories. Okay, go right ahead.
There's a lot you can learn from it. Knowledge is a funny thing where knowledge does grant you power, but as you can see from what we've seen on YouTube or X or other places with these independent journalists, you see what happens when people get a fraction of knowledge.
Yeah.
And what they do with a little bit of misinformation. They just run with
as if it's fact. And
very little of them, very few of them have done their own research.
Yeah.
And when they get confronted by independent journalists, or they get confronted with people with microphones, it's fun to watch them just space out by getting asked questions that they didn't even figure to ask themselves, because they don't think for themselves. They're not critical thinkers. They are pawns in this game. And a lot of us used to call them NPCs for a very long time. So I started thinking today about what was the point of the misgendering, or the reason behind the gender confusion. Well, you'll see that in the grander scheme of things, it will eliminate birth rates. I'm like, well, that makes sense, but that doesn't put the nail on the head, because the Democrats are perverts. We know that. So what's the real reason behind it? Oh, then it clicked. If you confuse boys at a young age and turn them into girls, then that gives the pedos a unlimited supply of something that can't get pregnant. So that made more sense to me.
Well, it's also Satan's playbook to distort and to taint God's design.
You also have an issue with the demasculating process. So the Bible's very clear on men being masculine. Very, very popular on that, and we're very big on it. And I was surprised learning about French. They have masculine and feminine words.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Imagine wrapping your head around that one, Americans who don't understand what genders are. The issue you're going to run into as well is that's for kids being confused and having doors open to pedos. The adults, it means something different. It means something totally different. Because they can use those adults for other purposes. And we've seen them as well. We've seen the drag queens. We've seen a whole bunch of other stuff that they've done that just mortifies you, that it's around children. And trying to normalize it. It's just disgusting. It's despicable. It's something that they wanted. But how do we get to this point? Well, I was thinking about how hard the Democrats made it on men. Specifically men. By turning women against us. By turning women into something that they weren't meant to be. They made women's lives harder to try and prove something. Basically with the reverse psychology of, if you don't do this, you're not as good as a man. If you can't do this, you're not as good as a man.
Well, it's also attacking your self-esteem and your self-worth. And we as believers understand our worth comes through Christ.
Yep.
And the Holy Spirit. And without that, you will succumb to the evils of this world. And we also know we're not part of this world. We weren't meant to be. We're meant to just go right past it and into the arms of Jesus.
And so what you're dealing with is they made it so difficult for men to be men. And then they offer the men, become a woman. So they did. The weak-minded did. And then they got women's sports, they got everywhere. And women voted for that. Women accepted a man becoming a woman.
Well, I think another part of it is us as parents, we need to teach our children about spiritual warfare.
Yes.
About this is Satan's plan. This is God's plan. You have to choose which one you want to go with and educate your kids on evil versus good, because that's all this is. This isn't parties. This isn't politics. This is good versus evil. And which side are you going to choose?
Yeah.
I always thought in my ministry that it was about the rapture and about saving souls to come to Jesus. But it's so much more than that, watching this war of the souls and how Satan just really wants to wreck people and ruin them and take them from Jesus. And those are conversations we as parents need to have with our kids.
So what it comes down to is you have people that focus more on prophecy, okay? And that's what that is.
Yeah.
Is this getting from point A to point B and learning about the prophecy of what it says about that versus helping win the war and the battle by relationships. And that's how you overcome it all, by getting as many people saved and having them follow you through that and guide them through life. That's what you're supposed to do as a Christian. I've talked about that in my videos.
Yeah.
Why pastors and churches have failed. It's because they don't do that.
They don't care.
They just care about getting you saved and they leave.
Or they want your money.
Yeah.
And they want you to follow them. But they don't want to nurture your spiritual gifts so that you can actually make a difference in this
Correct.
world.
Yeah. And it's a very... I wouldn't say it's evil, but I would say that it's a common misunderstanding of what a pastor is supposed to do and what a church is supposed to do.
Well, now it makes sense to me, right? Sundays, you plant your butt in the pews, you listen to them speak, and then you're like whatever you want to be for the rest of the week. It makes sense to me because they don't actually help you to apply the changes that you need to make to walk with Christ every day of your life and to live for Him and not for this world.
Well, you know why that is. Because they don't do it themselves.
Correct.
And so,
absolutely. You have to be an example of it. Yeah.
Why would they help teach you to be a better Christian to surpass them? And then everybody knows that you surpass them. See, it makes sense to me why pastors that we've met wanted you to stay at a certain level beneath them.
Yeah.
Because the moment that you could outshine them, the moment your journey was different than theirs and the destination was different than theirs, well, now they want to keep you stunted.
Well, that's what made me mad was, how dare you talk down to me? We're supposed to be believers in Christ, and I don't understand why there's not an evil playing field here. I appreciated those in leadership that actually put themselves at your level, like we're all supposed to be, because none of us, is worthy of what Christ did for us. None of us is. If you think you are, then you got a problem. And so that was my issue, was where's the common ground if you're above me?
Yeah.
And we've discussed that before too, that, hey, pastors, you're in charge of your flock. That means you can't be above them. You have to be part of them.
You have to be a pastor and protect your flock the way that Jesus said to, the way Jesus wanted you to, the way that He did it for His disciples. He gave you the example of how to follow in His footsteps and lead people, and you chose, I'm going to do it my way. Well,
okay, but it's also a corporation. Our churches are corporations, which is part of the problem.
So the reason why that happened is churches don't recognize donations like checks and stuff unless it's got a business account. I learned that from my grandparents trying to send money over to the Philippines. I was in the car with them as they were doing this. And there has to be a business account. And they were telling them, no, it's not a business account, it's a church. Yeah, and the church has to have a business account open with us. That just doesn't sit right with me.
It's I can't remember the terminology for it, but it's a type of filing that they do when they become a church. And they file it with the government, and so they're treated like a business instead of being treated like a charitable institution, which is what they should be, I think. So there's another problem I see with the corporate
No, that makes sense. They should be.
view of churches, right?
Uh-huh.
So corporations we know are corrupt.
Yep.
They have a lot of funneling of money. We don't know. Maybe some of them are funneling money for terrorism. We don't know. But the point is, it's already setting a bad precedent, and then you're also not in charge of your flock because you're actually just more concerned with the donations and where your money's going and your corporation versus your people. And it's no different than jobs. It's
Yeah,
you know.
and they also are in like a corporation because some pastors get a packet every Sunday. They don't get to speak on their own what they want to talk about that Sunday. The people above them tell them to talk about that Sunday. So it's also ran that way as well. And Pastor Stephen told us back when we were working with him that that's how churches are ran. And he was a prison minister before he became a pastor that helped us through things. So we learned a lot about how churches are ran, and it's just despicable. It's horrible.
And that's why they look at you like a dollar sign. Always wanting to know what my husband was making, where he was working, so they get an idea of what 10% of his income would be.
Yeah,
it's despicable, and you don't feel like you belong, and you don't feel like you're part of something.
They don't make you feel welcome or comfortable either.
No,
even especially if your results speak for themselves on how you raise your kids, your marriage. That kind of stuff. If it makes them feel inferior or it makes them feel jealous of somebody, then they don't like you. They want you to leave. And the Bible's very big on jealousy. It's very big on some of these issues of envy. So
haughtiness.
Yes.
I think
so for them to exhibit these behaviors and call themselves not just a Christian but a pastor or a leader in the church,
it's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
It makes no sense.
Well, and so I had an idea, an epiphany. If this new world that we're going to live in, I don't know if that's really the case, but if it is going to be a better place to live, I say let's turn the churches into a place where people can do homeschooling together, like a homeschool co-op.
That makes sense. That's what you had. Churches used to be schools.
Yeah, so let's go back to the old ways of doing things to where you're now in a sense of community because you all have the same goal, right? You all want to make sure your kids understand the Christian values, Pledge of Allegiance, learning all of these things that we grew up with and learning where we come from, because I know that our history's been tainted and who knows what's been happening.
Schools need to teach about their state's history.
Yeah. Because
we didn't learn that. A lot of people didn't learn that. And learning about the laws and stuff now, it makes sense why.
I did learn that Oregon has a song. That I did learn in school. Your dad didn't know that. We do have a lot of history here with the Oregon Trail and with the Oregon Territory.
That brings up another interesting point. Not every school teaches the same stuff.
Correct.
Even if it's in the same state. They don't teach the same stuff.
Well, because I was public school, your dad was private school, but he had the Christian school.
Even then, they don't teach the same stuff. So this is why, and even some of my friends, we were talking about history or stuff like that, and they were taught this, and I was taught something else, or I was taught this, and they're taught something else. So we would compare notes and look them up, of course, to find out. So schools tend to teach what they feel they need to be teaching. Like with churches, they kind of rewrite the phrase, or they rewrite a bit of history. You don't need to know about this kind of thing.
Well, it's trail mix. So you pick what you want to pick out of the Bible to teach on. And I appreciate those that go like Brett Metter, teaching the Bible verse by verse so that you don't lose the context of what's being taught.
Yes.
That's the way it should be.
The way it's supposed to work is you read a passage and then you read a few chapters before, and then a few chapters after. So
verses.
Or verses works too.
You'll be reading a lot if you're going by chapters.
Well, Dad wanted us to do that to understand the full context of
Yes.
the whole thing, because you have to take in consideration it's about the Middle Eastern times, not about
and so
over
you
here.
also have to study the history of those regions,
Yep.
what it was actually really like back then, because a lot gets lost in translation because times change.
Mm-hmm.
Things and people are like, oh, the Bible's not relevant. Oh boy, it is too. Even though, the landscape may have changed, the way things are happening may have changed, but
Yeah, and the way I love this guy talking. I listened to him on TikTok. I forget his name, but his name was Jonah. He gave a great example of how to deal with somebody that claims that the Bible has been rewritten and it's not the real authentic
Right.
version. And it was, so then that means you know what it was. If you can claim this, that means you know what it actually was. So please tell me.
wow.
So, and I've seen different variations of that, but that was remarkable.
Well, and I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to read my Bible because it's been tainted or whatever. I'm just going to live
Right.
the way I think Christ wants me to. It's like, okay, except
Yeah. Yeah.
my kids grew up in Awana, so they have Bible verses memorized. Well, you do. I don't know about your brothers, but so my youngest didn't go to Awana, but they had Bible verses to memorize.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's wrong to spend time in the Word, especially when lots of times God's put me in there because I have something to learn from it. Tons of times.
Let me tell you something. You learn about the Bible, and you learn different verses, especially ones in like Proverbs, Psalms, and you listen to Christian music. Go to the woods at night, and you will understand a lot more about what it's like being in the wilderness, being in there at your own experience. Will your mind play tricks on you at night, or will your mind stay focused? 'Cause I'll tell you something, if you focus on the Word, and you recite those verses at night, you'll feel more power than if you didn't.
Well, and the other thing is too, if you go and spend time in the wilderness, just even for a walk or even just sitting there, just thinking about it. Imagine 40 years in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
That was God's plan for the Israelites. I mean, imagine 40 years in the wilderness. Some of us can't even handle 5 minutes. Especially
No Wi-Fi, no connection.
right? But especially for us who know God made us for a purpose, but we still don't know what that purpose is. It's so frustrating. I keep thinking to myself, okay, I get that I homeschooled my kids. I'm still married to my husband and still in love with my husband
Mm-hmm.
and still did all the right things. And I understand that's a purpose, but I still feel like God has prepared me for so much more. And even I had this conversation with him this morning, just going, God, I know that you didn't just do this to me just to have no plan for my life. That somewhere, somehow I could still make a difference. I don't feel like I make a difference selling shoes. I can for some people because they're coming in with medical problems with their feet and I
Yeah.
know what to do to fix those problems. But to me, it's starting to feel empty. It's starting to feel like a drag that I could be using my time for something else that I feel could advance the kingdom of God better. Again, my son giving me this purpose of just, again, going back and researching and giving me something to do because I have a lot of time on my hands with being part-time work. It's giving me something to strive for, but at the same time, I'm still asking God, we're still stuck. We're still in a place of not knowing. And I did a video years ago about God doesn't want us stuck, but at the same time, this feels like being stuck. It feels like I'm not in control. And one of the things I'm really bad at, I'm bad at the unknown, and I'm bad when I'm not feeling like I'm in control. And I know I'm not. I know God's the one that holds the wheel and leads us through. But there's still that part of me that likes to control things, and my family can tell you, I'm still struggling with that control freak in me.
Our father's not like that. He's a very go with the flow kind of guy. But
Almost to a fault.
he doesn't like to feel bullied. So if your approach it makes him feel that way, then out of spite, he won't do anything for a good week or two. So what it feels like, but it most likely will probably just be like a few days. He'll get around to it when he feels like it, kind of thing. So, um, yeah, it's
I know you're struggling with purpose too, because we did our ministries and then they ended, and then it was like, okay, is God going to open a door? Is there something on the other side of this?
When you learn your giftings and you learn how God made you and how He took such careful, precise movement to make you have those experiences, to mold you into the certain person He had in mind, it changes your perspective on things. And then you learn about how you're wired by taking certain classes and stuff, and you learn about your giftings and where you will excel. And then you find out that in the real world, you're not allowed to excel in those areas.
Exactly.
Because you'd cast such a big shadow that no one wants you. And then you feel the rejection. You feel the isolation that every Christian felt back in times of old.
Well, like for me, it was a double-edged sword when I found out my biggest gifting was compassion. Sometimes when your biggest gifting is compassion, I was at a church gathering and one of these women, I think she lost a loved one in her family, and I just touched her hand and I immediately felt her pain just through my body, and I thought, well, what is this? That's a level of compassion I think even Jesus could feel, right? When the woman touched the hem of his garment.
Yeah.
Right? Like he felt it. Like, who took that from me? That's something that I found out other people were jealous I had. And it's like, why are you jealous? Because their gifting wasn't compassion. But the funny thing is, those are the types of people that don't have any, but wish they did. And it's like, it's like,
or they'll fake it and put on a big show. My mom's energy was drained. It zapped her. The moment she touched this woman, she couldn't stand. It had taken all of her strength. And there have been stories like this. It's been around. It's just something that's not talked about in our time.
Yeah.
So, to have these experiences and these things happen to us, it's a blessing being a part of it, but then it's a curse having to explain it. Because when you explain it, you have people that go, hey man, that's cool, I want that around me. Then you have other people that go, you're full of it.
Or why don't I have that gift? And it's like, that's not the way to look at it, because God made us all the way he made us. None of us is a carbon copy of anybody, although you're a junior. So
it's been her joke. It's been her joke. Basically, all of us are like our father in some way. But the way she puts it is, if you were to put us all together, we make up our father. So because I'm a junior, I take after his more serious personality type. She compares me as the carbon copy, which it's funny, you know, we get a good laugh out of it, but
never the original.
So to counter that, I call her a Timu Japanese, because she's half not authentic, and she wasn't even born there. She was born here. So, and she doesn't know much about her heritage or how to speak Japanese. So I love rubbing that in. How I
know authentic. A little bit about Japanese. I do know some Japanese. I don't know how to read it or write it.
Still not authentic. So that's how we counterbalance that. But yeah, I mean, if you try to explain your giftings or your experiences, you'll have people who get jealous real quick. In youth group, there was a girl not happy. She was unhappy because the question was, have you heard the voice of God? And some of us raised our hand. I was one of those people. And she's like, well, I don't understand why. When she got upset, that answered the question for her. When God speaks to you, it's because one, you're open, two, you understand, and three, he can talk to you without you either not receiving him or not being ready to receive him. So,
Or it's also because your relationship with him
yeah,
is close enough for him to feel like he can't talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part I think a lot of people are missing is they don't have a close relationship with the Lord. You know, like we've always said, you don't want to hear depart from me for I never knew you. That's a scary verse in the Bible. And I talked about that. You either want to be well done, my good and faithful servant, or depart from me for I never knew you. Those are going to be the two biggest things that get told to you when you die, when you're no longer part of this world. And those are two things never taught in a church.
no.
They never discuss these things.
And the issue with our family specifically, I mean, I know I felt it, but I know the family has too. The rejection you feel from churches and other Christians, you can get a glimpse of what it was like for Jesus to be rejected.
Yeah.
And so when you're told that in this world you put through trials and
Persecution.
the Bible talks about how it will be from the world, you're not expecting to be from other Christians.
That threw me. I was always reading my Bible and learning persecution. Okay, that's going to come from non-believers. No, actually, I've been treated better by people who don't believe in God
Yep.
than by people who say they believe in God. That threw me. I was very unnerved by that. It's very hard for me to even accept it to this day. But Bible's very clear about hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are not believers are not hypocrites for the most part. It's the Christians who claim to be Christians that are more hypocritical, which I find funny.
The reason is because they want to put on this facade of something that they're not to fit the mold that they want you to believe in. And non-believers, they have typically nothing to prove. It depends on their mindset. But in my experience, they've been the most welcoming.
Yeah.
They've been the most inviting. And you look at the certain ones and you find out why. Well, it's because they didn't fit in either. The ones that have been nice to us have been the ones that don't fit in their group or where they should be. So
I've always said we fit in with the misfits.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it. You know, even Christmas time when I think about the misfits, I'm like, yeah, that's us. We don't fit in anywhere, but we understand what it's like to be one. So we're okay with hanging out with the misfits.
and there's more power in numbers. And if there's more misfits than there are of you kind of people, well then you have your own self to blame.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we stand right now. I know there's a lot more that we need to research on, you know, where the world's headed. I still believe and trust in Trump.
We may not agree with or be happy with some things he's focusing on or choosing to do, but overall, he's our only hope for this country right now.
For the world, actually. I mean, I think he's gotten a lot of respect
Oh yeah,
from
true.
other countries, and
True.
there is no other person that can do what he's done. The peace that he's brought, the deals that he's brought for our country and the tariffs alone, no president's ever
Well,
done that.
and he's good at negotiations.
True.
Which is what a president's supposed to be, and none of them have been.
Well, because they've been bought and paid for. Let's be honest. We haven't had any real presidents. They've all been
I mean,
crooked.
the Democrats' idea of negotiation is taking a knee,
yeah.
basically.
But let me clarify. JFK was a real president for the country, right? You know,
His vision was, yeah.
I mean, he was going to go to battle for some evils that were being done to our world. I believe Reagan was a good president, although comes to find out, you know, some things weren't good about him. But I think much like Trump's first term, I want to believe he was surrounded by the wrong people that were not there for his best interest to do what was right for our country. This time around, though, for Trump, I believe he's got some better people in there, but I think he's got some snakes in there too that are still stopping what he needs to do. So I'm just praying for our country. I'm praying for all of you who are like us, misfits, and who have giftings and don't know what to do with them and are struggling with purpose as well. We're right there with you. And we're right there with you with our country and where we stand with it. And anybody that's in a sanctuary state, we understand your problems and your pain. Although Minnesota seems to be really bad along with Michigan. But that's only because they've come to light. Now, I did find out that Newsom beats all of them by $24 billion, I think is what he stole.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, and his fingerprints are all over it, so he can't really hide it, thank goodness. So hopefully we can get these people out of office. Now what we're really wanting is accountability.
Yeah.
You've uncovered this. You've shown us the problems. Now we want some action to be taken. If it were any of us, if it were any Republicans, which by the way, I'm going to point out, Republicans are not escaping this either.
No.
There's corruption on both sides. Don't be surprised when some rhinos come out as being, part of the problem too. I'm not surprised. I think it was it Julian Assange? I think it was. He said 98% of our Congress members are crooked. 98%. So good luck with that. That is how bad the corruption is. So they're like, don't get attached to anybody, which I have some of my favorites in there. I hope they're okay. But
if they're not, it's whatever. I mean, a criminal's a criminal, so.
Justice has to come, and that's what we're waiting for now, is we want justice. We want to start seeing people getting what they deserve. And, take out the immigrants while you're at it, try and clean up our country. Been fun watching some of the arrests taking place. Wow. Mm-hmm. We need more of that, but with people that we've been waiting to see. How long now? Go down.
So we also heard a guy talk about, why would you want to go into government? Why would you want to do that? And he was, again, giving more generalized statements. And I took immediate offense to that, because when you have a platform and a following, it is important that you give specific details of why it is you're talking the way you're talking.
Well, let me clarify, though, because what he was talking about was how dirty and corrupt this system is. Why would you want to go into it? Now, you're hoping to get in, to fix it, although he says you can't. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I believe it's a difference of what kind of government you're going into.
Right.
Because some of it you can, some of it you can't. For example, I mean, if you go into City Hall, okay, or you go into a mayor position, you can do some good. The issue is, in those positions, somebody's above you.
Correct.
Okay, and that's where you get into a lot of these issues. That's why when you go into work, you get all these problems, because your manager is the one that dictates what you're going to do that day and what your job could be doing, and he could also frame a bunch of stuff on you too.
But I'd also like to see the congressmen and all of our elected officials just be AI. Honestly.
Really?
I would. They would know the law. They could follow the law. They would not be tainted by, elections, funds, fundraisers.
Right.
I know I'm blowing I'm bursting your bubble a little bit, but I'm just saying corruption wouldn't be there.
It's not the kind of attitude you had recently, so it's kind of shocked me that you're.
Again, I was playing around with the AI thoughts today and thinking, how else would you end the corruption to where
it's not a bad idea.
The laws would be followed, everything. But again, how far do you take that? Do you take that to law enforcement, to where there's robots in the streets? I don't know if I really want to do that. To me, that's iRobot. That's what I'm scared about. I don't want that to happen. I don't want a robot in my home. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah.
Don't want it.
So when you're picking a spot of government, like, say, governor, there's a lot you can control. There's a lot that you can do. And that's why I think that's more of a realistic expectation. Being president is a bold move and takes a lot more than what many have to offer. Congress and Senate will be exhausting because it's all about negotiations, and you can't make everybody happy. That's more of a fight than being governor.
But see, that's where I don't like any political office, because it seems like you have to be bought in order to win. And that's
or you gotta do some kind of favor.
right.
That's the way it works.
That's why he said that. Why would you want to get involved in a place where,
So
you know,
yeah, those
it's all
places,
rigged
those
against you?
places are not places we should touch because that's federal.
Or
Okay.
even state. I mean, you think our DA, how many DAs were bought by Soros?
Well, that's why governor, okay, is the most important position, because you can fire as many of those kind of people as possible, or have them removed for being tyrannical. That's what the Second Amendment's about. Okay,
Well,
so if they're members of the government that run it tyrannically, they are removed by the American citizens. That's how that works.
I know. I'm just saying.
So that's why.
I think governors are bought too, though. That's all I'm saying.
Well, absolutely. That's why it's important that you put honest people in there. Okay? So
What's more honest than AI?
honest aid. do your research, do your history. No, it can be hacked.
True, but I mean, if you really truly want to establish law and order and not have the corruption come back again, I don't know.
But that means you gotta trust the person who put the AI in there, and for what purpose.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I trust Elon. I don't trust the other two, and I don't know who else has got AI. I just know those other two. I'm sure there's more AI programs, and I don't know what China and Russia are doing with their AI.
I think AI is a band-aid. I don't think it's going to be a system that will fix everything, because
That's on how far they want it to go.
yeah, but you also have to consider the risks of doing all that too, and that will potentially cause more risks, because the concern of that is that it can leak a lot of information where humans can't or wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's a system all its own.
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
know. Yeah,
it's a
true.
potential security risk. And not just for states, but also the whole United States. So, and you can't charge AI with federal crimes because it's not a real person.
Okay.
So I'm just saying it's a possibility.
I don't know what Trump's doing. I'm just saying, got to cover the bases, because that was not being really talked about, not really being discussed.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to put it out there. See what people think.
It's not a bad question to ask. It's not a bad place. It's just
Maybe we'll get some comments from this video, because we haven't gotten any yet. I'd love to see a boatload of comments on this one. What's your guys' opinion? Do you really want to be ruled by AI?
Once we get a bunch of followers and viewers, then we can go live and have live conversations with them, because that'd be fun. But yeah, that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't like the idea of it. I don't trust people either, but I trust machines a lot less.
I don't know. You can't. I mean, the corruption can't really come from it.
But a person is choosing to be corrupted versus
But you can. And when do you find out when they?
programmed to be.
How long do you wait to find out that they are corrupt? 100 years from now? See, that's what I'm trying to say. Is there's
Point is, you can find out. AI, you won't find out. So,
just up for debate, you guys. Come talk to us about it. Tell us your thoughts, because really, I mean, I'm just bringing it up because I was thinking about it and not really sure, because people want to fearmonger, and I'm like, okay, well, what are the benefits of it, if there were any? Because I don't want to fearmonger, and I don't want people jumping off a cliff over it, but I do want people to imagine what good it could do.
it can do a lot of good. Like I said, it's a tool. Okay?
Right. If
And
used as a tool,
it's not the tool that frightens me
it's
or
who's
worries
in
me.
charge of it.
Yeah, whose hands it's in. Exactly. Because we know the power corrupts. Now, there have been some people in history that power did not corrupt them. Okay, so some people are capable of running without being corrupted. It's just a matter of finding those right people, because they're very few. In today's world, the greed is so huge and strong with them that it's not possible. Well, it's not. I mean, it is possible, but its probability is low.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to bring it up, have a discussion. Luckily, I discussed this with Davey before we talked because I was running it by him going, what do you think? Because there's been a couple times where he's not telling me what he's going to discuss on here. And then you get my honest expression of, oh, that just hit me just now. So I want to kind of pick his brain a little bit because I was going to go a different route with today, but then I decided, okay, well, this popped up. So let's talk about it.
It's worth discussing. Yeah.
I don't like that it's not being talked about. There's no plan of action.
When AI is discussed, it's usually, well, look all the good it can do. And
smoke and mirrors.
With that kind of pitch, I always look for something else, something more sinister behind the curtain, because nothing is perfect.
Well, they say that AI is going to replace jobs. Okay, which jobs? Now, fine. You can go drill out in the ocean where we're going to lose lives. Put AI out there.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead. Put AI in the dangerous jobs so people don't have to worry about coming home dead. Okay, I get it. Fine. That's noble. Where else are you going to put it? Because I really am concerned. I kind of don't mind it teaching, potentially, with the knowledge that it has. Possibly.
It could be a good job for it, yeah.
But again, I don't know. You can program it to say stuff about history. Cool, awesome, because I hear our history is not what we think it is. We've been lied to, everything's wrong. Cool. Re-educate all of us with AI. I'm okay with that. But there are some jobs I think require people. And, as wonderful as AI may be, there's no customer service in AI. I think the customer service still needs to come from human beings, in my opinion.
It could do a good job with that. I think its only issue is not being able to relate to a frustrating problem. However, these days, from what I've interacted with it, it does a very good job at calming you down and helping and telling you that it understands.
You don't know. So I just saw across the ticker on one of the programs I was watching, teenagers are using AI for mental support. They are actually doing that.
It is good for that.
I think that's actually really a cool idea because we don't want to lose any more teenagers to ending life itself. I think
teenagers today are a lot worse off than my generation was. And the reason for that is we didn't deal with self-esteem issues to the extent that they are today.
Well, you didn't have all social media bullying and
a little bit, because it was still new.
Yeah.
I mean, technology like that was developed when I was growing up. And so when I was a teenager, it was still pretty new to all of us. So
right.
We didn't, like I said, technology is a tool. Okay.
Yeah.
So some people used it for bullying tactics, and other people actually chose to do the physical thing,
right?
Which was better, I would say, because you could do something about the bully.
Well, it's also quicker versus the bullying online. It's relentless. It's going to keep going.
But like a comedian said, if you turn off the device, okay, it stopped.
Right, but also from Generation X, none of us ever dreamed of using any types of means to end someone's life. That was never
Correct.
Ever something we ever even dreamed of. We just sucked it up.
Yeah.
Also, for our generation, we never ever, no matter how much we hated somebody, we never said, just go off yourself.
Yeah.
That was, when I heard one of you kids say that, I just about fell over. I was like, what?
So that's the issue with social media and influences my brothers were part of. It's not my scene. But for them, that's what they're like, oh, that's a cool way to talk. And it's like, no, it's not. So morality hit them kind of late, but something very important that you brought up is the bullying. And the reason I think that physically it's better is because it's a challenge. It's one of your first obstacles where life doesn't go your way.
Well,
And you can either learn from that or you take something from it very bitterly.
boys and girls are different. So boys can beat on each other and be best friends afterwards.
Very true.
Girls
It's a respect thing.
go for the jugular. Girls are mean.
They're nasty.
They go straight for your emotions. And so fighting with girls is completely different. And yes, that wedge will be driven forever. If that connection happens where you say the wrong thing, that can end a friendship forever. I mean, it's done. Boys aren't like that. Boys are more physical. Okay, let's go be buds, you know.
Guys want to see what you're made of.
Yeah.
And
You earn their respect.
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it's first intimidation and then it's a tactic of coming to blows. And if you hold your own, then they'll go, I still don't like you, but I can respect you.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what it's about. With women, it was never about respect. Ever. It was always about who could inflict the most emotional damage as possible.
Yeah, it's true. And lots of times that's irreparable. You can't fix it after you've said whatever you said.
Because the body will heal, and it helps when you got friends around, to
Yeah.
drink with, as you're both healing. With women, they don't do that. They heal alone, and that makes them a lot more psychotic, in my opinion.
Wow.
Because they
Okay, so
don't have anybody to talk to after that.
we
Because the
just took
fight's
the
over.
video to a whole different level, but we're gonna do one more video on
Workman's comp. I think it's important to discuss that one because there's a lot that can go into it, and it's become more relevant now with my father. So I think it's important to talk about it.
so that'll be our next video, and we'll see you.
Hope you enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, we'd love to
and-
hear what you have to say.
Help us get out there. We're gonna need you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.